let's roll over to you and talk about a specific program. I would imagine that NetApp is probably used in all of these agencies, certainly used in the majority of them. Tell us about a specific program you'd like to highlight.
Yeah, sure thing. Let me just pick on one that is a government organization responsible to support local and international warfighting and disaster relief. Soon to be released publicly, but they had three problems they were trying to solve. Or three problem areas they were trying to solve. Is technical. They couldn't complete replications due to software incompatibilities. It would time out, and they couldn't set up their continuity of operations in order to meet the recovery point objectives. They also had software that was out of date and security issues going throughout their organization, right? And they just didn't have the money to be able to modernize because their funding comes from various disparate sources. So collecting it from all the different sources and bringing it together to be able to do capital purchases and upgrade all at once was just a little bit more than they could take on. So second problem was funding, and the third problem was manpower. And, how do you go across? Because they had to have multiple locations. They couldn't consolidate any more than their 60 locations that they have. So how do they get the manpower to do this, how to fund and be able to do the upgrades that they needed? So what we were able to work with them on is implement a consumption-based model, a very flexible one that allows them, whether they wanted to play monthly or on an annual basis, to be able to set themselves up so they could modernize the infrastructure that they needed, reduce the security vulnerabilities, get the performance that they needed, upgrade everything across all the 60 sites, and be able to do that, all while moving to a much more flexible cost model so that they didn't have to have the funds up front, that they can pay for it out of their operational budget. So we implemented this solution. We were able to migrate all of their data with zero data loss, and more importantly, with zero interruption of service, right? Because we were able to come in and work with them to do it across their locations. Now where they've ended up is that they've got the infrastructure in place. Instead of having to go through a procurement every time that they need additional capacity, they can just submit a change order and start utilizing that capacity that's there and available for them, right? So it gives them a very cloud-like environment, but having modernized across their complex organization and environment. So
love the zero